Scarlet Witch issue number 10. The finale? Question mark? It's the finale? This is the finale? We could do a couple more issues. I'd be okay with that. Look, I know we're rebooting the title with Steve Orlando again in January. It's going to be called Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, which to me sounds like it would have just been issues 11 and 12 and whatever, but I guess it's part of like the 60th anniversary of the characters. They want to do something grandiose with them. I don't know. I could have this book continue forever. I mean, it's been some of my favorite stuff at Marvel, if not my favorite stuff at Marvel, if not my favorite book on store shelves right now. This comic did so much that surprised me, mainly because it took Wanda in a direction she is desperately needed. It gave her a revitalization that almost seemed impossible because nobody properly cared for her. But that's what this did, and this issue does kind of wrap up pretty quick, and I think there's a couple reasons for that. Of course, it's the relaunch coming in January. I think maybe we would have gotten a couple more issues with Hexfinder, but I guess getting at least 2 trades worth of this book out works. I don't know. I've really liked it. I really like this book. I'm very upset that this is the end because, again, just you could do like an episode of the week thing with this character where it's like go to different magical places, try something new. Last issue we kind of rushed through like a bunch of different stories that in their own right could have been a standalone issue of the book. I just think the current state of comic books kills that from actually happening, where nothing can last forever, everything kind of ends quicker than it normally does. That is the current state of just media at large, where things are shorter and they don't get their longevity. I also think halfway through writing this book, Steve Orlando started to realize the main crux of it was going to be the relationship between Wanda and Joseph. I think you can see the point where that kind of became like the central focus, and Hexfinder, while a central character for the back half of this book, suddenly wasn't the focus we were trying to make it. She became like a means to an end to justify Wanda connecting with this version of her father, which is more interesting than just having her fight an evil witch hunting person. So that's fine. At the end of the last issue, Joseph kind of betrayed her because he was using like the strange metal and it infected her body. And now Wanda's kind of like injured as Hexfinder walks through the door, and Hexfinder is quick to give us a history lesson on her people and where she comes from. I think it's very interesting, like this history that they build for Hexfinder, like this world. She is like from this like ancestral place hidden within like the mountains of like olden times, somewhere near like an eldritch mine, and her village was attacked by these elder spawn. They are like these creatures, these destructive demons born of Scython, so they're harder to kill and they're not something that's easily destroyable. And her village prayed for witches to come help them because, you know, those were the things that killed these demons, but the witches never came and the village was attacked. Later on, we'd see that her village moved deeper into the mountains to hide from Scython's elder spawn, and that's when they studied alchemy, which I think is very cool. Like, I think it's so like old school that a villain towards like a witch character that uses witchcraft would use alchemy, something more of the sciences. It's such a interesting idea. She also has a magic staff, though, so it's kind of like whatever. Still kind of fun. I dig it. And see, what I really like is that Wanda doesn't really concern herself with the stuff with the Hexfinder. Like, she knows this is a threat she can defeat, and it might take some convincing or some, you know, hardships to get there. But it's just more like her connection to Joseph. Like, she trusted him, even when she saw the dread and anger on his face, the danger that he could bring. She read his intent, and there was remorse in the things he did, and he does regret them. And that's kind of like her main focus here as she's having this battle of Hexfinder. So it becomes witchcraft versus alchemy. One of them has a staff. It's the alchemy lady. It's really cool. I dig it. I love every single design for this book. I think Hexfinder looks really cool and has such a distinctive version. Like it's kind of the antithesis just in terms of like a color palette and the terms of like creation to what Wanda represents, which is always a great thing to see. It works well for those characters. It's really interesting. But the fight manages to like get outside of the, you know, the bookstore, so now they have to fight it there. And Darcy is becoming a distraction, saying she's got the pillow of life and death, which is a dangerous pillow that can kill anything it touches. And it's obviously a fake thing, but Hexfinder turns it to lead and it breaks. And that's when Wanda just needed the distraction from Darcy so she could enact her own plan. And a fight is about to break out, but because like this weird element from the stone that they uncovered was actually from Hexfinder and Joseph, we see that it's called Mysterium, and Hexfinder is able to manipulate it and kind of control it, so a lot of the Mysterium comes out of the ground and encases them in like just like a battlefield essentially. Thanks to Joseph, he's able to do that and keep them in check somewhere. And then we just get a little bit of a fight between Wanda and Hexfinder, and it's pretty exciting. Like, one of the standouts of this book has just been like the visual interpretations of the use of magic. You have a character who is based in like this world. You can go to different areas with her. This book has done that so many times before, and it looks so good every time. Because Hexfinder uses a gun, and Wanda's like, can we just not use like the modern stuff? Just stick to the staff, please, like it's a little less lame. As they're having the fight, Darcy is trying to convince Joseph, like, maybe don't be a part of what she's doing. Like, we could change the way this is. Like, it's the Mysterium that's like leaving us in here, and it's draining Wanda of her powers because it's like an alchemist like concoction to manipulate like magic and stuff. And you have the ability to change the tides of this fight if you want to become free of this control. And the entirety of just like Joseph having to deal with like, I was born out of a falseness already. And you saw that Hexfinder took his body from like the Krakoan egg, whatever the hell's, and put it somewhere so he could like grow into her weapon. It's very weird. The fight continues. Wanda is drowning in a puddle. She turns into a giant bird and she stomps on Hexfinder. And then just turns into people with laser eyes fighting, and that's pretty sick. I appreciate that. Hexfinder starts to turn Wanda's body into gold, slowly suffocating her, so the only thing left are her lungs that she can breathe from. It's very terrifying. It's very disturbed. And that is when you see the killing blows about to come for Wanda. But there's a loud movement of her staff because Joseph has chosen his side. He is not going to be a pawn in this game anymore. And he helps Wanda up. She starts to lose the gold that's affecting her body, and she gets into a fight with Hexfinder. It gets a little more brutal, like literally punching and hitting each other. More laser eye stuff, which is really exciting to see. God, it's cool. Now, it's the same team on the book. I just think the coloring looks a little different. I think it's, is it Matthew still doing the colors on this one? I'm just going to check really quick. It's Frank William. Was Matthew William doing the colors on this one? I can't remember. Like, the artwork, like Pacelli's artwork pretty much looks the same. I think there's just a difference going on with the coloring that just makes it look slightly different. I think that's what it is, because it invokes the same feeling, but it has just a different taste to it. I know Matthew is doing Immortal Thor right now, which would probably take up a lot of your time. I could imagine going from a Scarlet Witch book to the Thor book would be more work, or maybe it's been Frank the whole time and I'm just losing my mind. I don't think so, though, because there's just like a different like pastel thing that was going on with what the previous books were doing. But as the fight continues, Joseph uses all of his power to take the Mysterium out of the ground and free them of the situation, which leads Hexfinder to go in for the kill, to kill him, but Wanda stops it from happening and essentially uses Hexfinder's powers against her and banishes her into her staff or something. It's hard to say. Hexfinder's gone, though. The fight is over. And it's the problem with superhero comic books in general, just how like long a fight lasts and how easy it can be. But Hexfinder was blinded by rage and she was betrayed, so an easy victory for Wanda I'm fine with. Again, in another like couple of issues, Hexfinder could have been a bigger threat, and that would have been really exciting to see. But we learned halfway through the story that the actual crux of what we want to talk about is the Wanda and Joseph relationship. So Hexfinder is just another means to an end to get us to the resolution for Wanda and this clone version of her father, which is cool. But the amount of power that it took to bestow the Mysterium from the ground, it has Joseph on his deathbed, essentially. And it's just a nice moment where he's like, I'm sorry I lied to you. You welcomed me, and I ruined your life pretty much. It was just so much, and I'm sorry, I should have never lied to you, but just once I had to be who you've always said I was, which was a really cool final parting words, kind of the cathartic ending to the Magneto and Scarlet Witch relationship we're never going to get because comics are cyclical and they go on forever, but a nice quiet moment where Wanda gets to see a pseudo version of her father actually act like a normal guy making the right decision. It's very well handled. It's very cool too. So she says goodbye to him. Darcy has a breakdown of like, I think I got him killed. It's like, no, you didn't get him killed. And resurrecting the dead's not something I do anymore. Just ask Genosha. He was okay. He changed the Mysterium. He rearranged its atoms into something new. And it's fine. You know? The element that can hurt me is no longer there. And he saved my life and became a hero in the end, which is a really nice thing to see. That's really cool. I dig that a lot, actually. It's really nice. So Wanda takes these new Mysterium crystals that were created by Joseph, and she takes them. Does she take them to Krakoa? I don't know where she takes them, just to a field somewhere. And she gives them a new name of Iosium, which is how you would say Joseph in Wanda's native language, is what I think she's going for there. And it's just kind of like a shrine to the good man that he was, which is really interesting. A cool little moment. This book's just been great. I don't know. Like, this wrap-up, I think, is like the resolution to all of the past trauma that Wanda's experienced. We kind of dealt with it now, you know? Like, we dealt with the Vision stuff. We've dealt with the Siphon stuff, and even Strange Academy for a bit, and stuff with Magneto, and now she's going to do stuff with her brother in the next one. Like, we're kind of getting the perfect ending to Wanda's journey kind of wrapped up in something. That's kind of cool to see. It does end pretty quick, which I get because I feel like we kind of rushed this ending, but I don't know. It does work for me. It just kind of ends with like Wanda talking to herself about like, we've been through a lot, and maybe you were changed by the alchemy of the moment, but in that you may not be alone. But as long as you're changing, you're alive. Like finding a new life for herself. We see a crystallized version of the Magneto helmet that Joseph was wearing. Wanda has it on display, and the book kind of ends with her and Darcy just kind of in the situation where they left off at. Just another threat for them, another villain of the week, and they're drinking a couple of beers, I guess, and just chilling. And that's really nice. It's Wanda being like there's so much change, especially in my world. My world is in constant flux and in constant change that I am very comfortable moving around and like having things exist around me in different ways. I really dig that. It's kind of a interesting take for the character. And we do kind of get like a tease for the next story. So there's like a letter that is sent to Wanda. It's like, hey sis, heard some space junk, flew too close to the sun and decided to become our problem. I assume you'd prefer to avoid a crash landing in your precious tourist town trap. Have your intern order from that place of the crepes. Pietro is headed to Lotkill, which makes sense. I'm excited. I like it. I'm fine for them doing a new number 1. I would prefer it just to be 11 and we could start a new arc. But these are the times we live in with comic books. Nothing can last forever. Number 1s do better anyways, so going back is fine with me. I have no problem with that. This has been a really incredible run. I will definitely be talking about it in my best of the year, towards the end of the year. And if you haven't seen any of the other issues, I've reviewed all 10 of them and the annual with Agatha. It's just been a treat. Just a surprising treat that I've adored to no end. And while we set up Hexfinder to be this big villain, I think it's more interesting when she just is defeated by her own arrogance, which is essentially what happens, where she thinks the relationship between Magneto and Scarlet Witch will be in constant turmoil, but the cathartic ending of Wanda accepting her father's fate is her own undoing. That's pretty exciting to me. I do dig that. So, Scarlet Witch issue number 10, the finale. I am going to give a 9 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.